Na 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 na. Hi there YouTube, Mark Vergeer here, back with another video. This is a video response to Ed. It's a tag response, and the tag is about your 3 favorite gaming accessories. And yeah, I've got some accessories that are my favorites, and to come to a top 3, not sure if that is entirely possible, but I will give it a go. The first type of gaming accessories that I find totally amazing is actually arcade joysticks. This is an original Competition Pro, and there's this is a different one. This is a SUSE arcade joystick, and this was very proliferant, very common in Europe. It only had one fire button. This is actually the original I played back in the day, and it's all been worn out, but it functions amazingly well still. But yeah, it's my original joystick I played all my games with. This is an advanced version. It had 2 fire buttons. People use this with the Amiga a lot, and you also have variants with yellow colored buttons and joysticks. But yeah, the specialized arcade joysticks for these older systems, that is something that is good. So arcade sticks and controller modifications, Y adapters. I have a Y adapter, I forgot where I put it, but I have a Y adapter that has one of these on one end and the female thing on the other, so you can actually hook up 2 controllers to one port, and that's actually quite handy. For example, when using a Spectrum, which has specialized joysticks. I have a Spectrum joystick that actually has a regular 9-pin layout and a specialized Spectrum layout, and if I use a Y adapter with that, I can actually hook up one of these, a regular joystick, to the Spectrum through that joystick. So I'm not sure if you get it, if you get what I mean. If you don't, well, I can make a special video of that, but otherwise, just, you know, specialized joystick connectors and stuff. Arcade sticks, this is the most rudimentary form. Arcade sticks, yeah, I'm big into joysticks. I have a lot of joysticks, I kind of collect joysticks. And a special type of joystick that I use for fighting games, for platformers, for many other games is actually this. It's the NES Advantage, and similar. I mean, this doesn't have micro switches. I've got a similar one for the Mega Drive, and it doesn't feature micro switches either. But yeah, great for you just placing it down on the table or on your lap, and you just play. It's much better than using one of these controllers, actually, for a lot of games. Actually, shooter games also work very well with it. So let me put that to the side. I've got these for just about any system. One of the latest sticks I got is actually this. This is the Tekken 6 wireless fighting stick. It actually is for the Xbox 360, and it has micro switches, a very nice Tekken artwork. It works on 2 AA batteries, and it hooks up to your Xbox just like a regular controller. Yeah, great stuff. It even has the triggers. I mean, it does everything that a regular Xbox 360 joystick would. So yeah, so I got these for just about any system. Another joystick that I do want to mention is specialized joysticks, and this is actually my favorite ColecoVision controller, made by John Ferguson, a good friend of mine, also known as the Stig. And I got this custom made serial number 2 thing, and yeah, it hooks up to a ColecoVision instead of a Jaguar, so I actually prefer playing that. Then something else, and that's adapters. Adapters for using other region games on your console. For example, this gem, the family adapter. If you got a game Gunhack, for example, and you want to play this in your NES, you really would have to pop it up like that, pop it in like this, and then pop it in your NES. The ribbon is for pulling it back out of the toaster model. I recommend using this in the NES 2, the Darkbone, the NES 2 system only, because it's easier to pull out. But yeah, so that's that. And finally, and I guess that's my number 1 in ultimate gaming accessories, and that's the whole range of solid state storage solutions that are coming out for the various systems. And here I have my 3 favorites. This, for example, is one of these flash cards for the Atari 8-bit computer line. It's, yeah, you know what I mean. Very well known. It uses compact flash. This is a 2 GB compact flash card in it. There's also SIO to SD interfaces. This just slides, sticks into the cartridge port. It doesn't do disk emulation, but it provides a lot of cartridge-based software and simple, easy executable loading from this. And it works for a lot of Atari games, no problem. So this, and then this is my Ghetto EverDrive. It's my, I got this EverDrive board, and I didn't have a case, and I had this case that was more or less falling apart, and it was in very bad condition. It's very brittle actually, and that's the Chess Master cartridge. And I thought, you know, why not make it into this Ghetto EverDrive? So yeah, this SD card just allows me to play a ton of NES games, SNES games. So and the most ultimate compact flash card to date is the 1541 Ultimate 2. And what this is actually, it is a Commodore 64 compact flash solid state storage solution. It has a USB port, and you can use USB memory sticks with it. It has a micro SD slot, so you can use micro SD cards with it. It has audio out. If you connect a speaker to it or headphones, it actually makes drive sounds. This connector is actually the serial connector that hooks up to the serial connector on the Commodore 64 or another Commodore 128. This is going to be a standalone device too. You have to power it. I think you have to power it over USB. I'm not sure. Then it functions as a standalone drive. You can use this to navigate through the folders and stuff. For now, it just will only function if you slot it into a Commodore 128 or Commodore 64. This hooks up to the serial port of the Commodore 64. I had this very small cable made that hooks it up just with a small cable. It does drive emulation, and what you do is you store all sorts of disk images and stuff on the SD card, and you are presented with a nice menu system that allows you to load it off using 1541 drive emulation, or just load it in very fast. You can either way. You can mount disk images, and you can run it. All sorts of crazy copy protection stuff works as long as the drive image is properly ripped. I think stuff like this, and that's why it's my favorite, stuff like this actually makes older games still available for us today, and perhaps in the future. People who were making disk images of 1451 disks, Commodore 64 disks, people were making disk images, people were hacking the software. The disk images stored on various hard drives on this SD media will last. They will be preserved. This provides a means of getting it into your Commodore 64 in a way that is quite similar to the original way it is supposed to work. You know, the loading experience is about the same. You can speed it up, but yeah. The thing is, the original floppies, they will degrade. They will cease to be. Commodore 64 disk drives, the belts will just, you know, I mean, it's will disintegrate. It's just not a way to preserve the software. So using something like this, ripping images, ripping software, making it available to be used on different media than the original media on the older systems, and also emulation, makes things available for future generations. And the way Generation X, I belong to Generation X, the way Generation X is, I mean, I'm just rambling, it's early, I had a rough night. Generation X, the people that were kids in the 70s and 80s, for them, it's the first generation that really had video games as an integral part of them growing up. And it's part of their culture. It's part of our culture. The generations after that, even more. You know, people who grew up with the SNES, the NES, Dreamcast, Genesis, Mega Drive. They grew up even more with video games being an integral part of their culture. And the thing is that with closed-off systems, and even companies wanting to tie in disks to a specific system, or using some sort of activation method, what it does is, in the short term, provide revenues, but in the longer term it just prohibits people from legitimately accessing their games. For example, a future console like the PlayStation something or the Xbox something, if they do tie in game code or disks just with one system, or forcing people to use some sort of activation code, what will happen is that of course, if the servers and the activation routines are up, it's no problem. But what if in the future, like 10 years after the system is pronounced dead, people are still want to enjoy their disks? They can't, because they have to activate them, and the activation methods are gone. And of course, what Microsoft or Sony will probably do is re-release those old games, and you have to pay for them again, like Sony is doing with the new PlayStation Vita console, PS Vita. I mean, it's possible to play PlayStation portable games on there, but you have to rebuy them, even if you own the micro drive, and there's no way of transferring the software. So I think people end up who end up hacking that system and using ISO images of the original games that they used. I mean, yeah, it's wrong to pirate, of course, but I mean, if you own the software and there's actually a way to play, but the company is actually prohibiting you from doing so, wanting you to shell out more money, I think they lose sympathy. They lose a lot of my sympathy, actually. And yeah, so the way gaming goes, I mean, this, yeah, I'm rambling, but this solid state storage solutions, imaging PlayStation. I mean, I can imagine, I mean, I've imaged quite a bit of my original PlayStation 1 discs, and I've imaged them to a hard drive, and I'm actually sometimes I'm using an emulator to play those discs because I don't want to wear out my original PlayStation. And the experience is equal, or sometimes even better if you know, enhance the graphics and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love playing games on the original hardware. I mean, if you look around this room, and you've looked around this room before, you'll see that there's a ton of consoles that are hooked up and that I'm constantly playing them. But I also like to invest in emulation, making sure that the systems that I have and the games that I have, that I'm able to play them on Linux on an emulator, or on Windows on an emulator. I even have a lot of adapters that allow me to hook up the original controllers to the computer that I use to emulate stuff on, to just keep the experience alive. And I mean, it's sad, but I mean, if in 20 years' time, it could very well be that the capacitors in the NES consoles have all blown, or that the original Xbox 360 is just, you know, it's just a pile of shit. I mean, look at the most Mega Drives, most Game Gears. Most Game Gears have blown capacitors. I mean, it's if you have a working original Game Gear, chances are that the capacitors will be shot very soon, if they haven't already. Let's see, I'm just totally rambling on here. Oh yeah, so emulation and being able to play the games, the cartridges on an emulator is maybe the way to go. That's why there's also these USB adapters that you slot in a Mega Drive game, or a Super Famicom, or a SNES game, SNES game in, and it allows you to transfer that game to the PC for use in emulators. I think stuff like that is not necessarily wrong, because it provides a way to access these games in the future. Because one cannot rely on the game companies to do that preservation for us. And there's a lot of games that are released that are just super rare, and the companies are not interested in releasing them to the general public. I mean, for example, good example, for the Saturn. For the Saturn you have Panzer Dragoon. Great game, but you have a very nice adventure, and that's the Panzer Dragoon Saga. Back in the day, it was accessible for people. Now it costs several $100s or euros, you know, and which is a shame. Of course, I have Panzer Dragoon 2, and I also have Orta, which is on the Xbox. But do I have Saga? No, because it's way too expensive. Because it's rare, and of course, games may be rare. I mean, of course, and and if they are available, then it's okay. But if games are so rare and they're not available, they get lost for the general public, which is a shame, because I do think that pieces of culture like video games, books, movies, I think they should be made available to the public, because after a certain amount of time, because it's a part of culture, and prohibiting access to that kind of stuff, those things, is actually wrong, I think. And of course there's this whole other discussion about copyright and about intellectual property, but the way things are going, I think property, actually owning things, will become more of a gray area as we go along. I mean, that's really weird. I mean, the world is more about money and money and money, and we as individuals are owning less and less and less of it. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, this video is going on far too long. I'll edit it quite a little, and I'll upload it to YouTube. And there may be some other tag videos that I'm interested in. I'm not sure. And I think I'm going to tidy up the game room a bit, because I have these loose SCART multi-selector things, and they're lying around. I've got controllers. I've got hippos, and I've got dead chickens, you know, all over the place. So yeah, perhaps I'll enjoy a quiet afternoon with dead chicken. I'm not sure. Anyway, Mark signing off, and I'll be back with another video soon, and perhaps more rested then, because man, I was coughing all night, and I'm having a bit of a fever, so I felt better. I have felt better. Okay.